Life can be difficult, and purpose doesn't remove the pain. It just gives it meaning.
Dr. Stacy, so true. In this episode 7 of Pivot on Purpose, we talk honestly about the cost of purpose, the pressure of responsibility, and how endurance shapes character.
If you're walking through difficulties and wondering what it means for your purpose, this episode speaks directly to you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Stacy, for that. And now, let's get started. Hi, this is Dr. John Stanko, and this is
Dr. Stacy Merida.
And we want to welcome you back to Pivot on Purpose podcast. And this is episode 7. This is so much fun. This is so much fun. This isn't work. Are we getting paid to do this?
No.
No. We're not making any money.
We're getting paid for free?
Yeah, but we are getting paid. Our relationship is being solidified. We're learning, even though we know one another fairly well in ours, we're learning things. Yeah. And we're getting a lot of new friends. Welcome, and thank you. Yeah. And, of course, our book project, Pivot on Purpose, and the book that started it all for you and me is the book. I wrote this book on purpose so you can know yours. Yeah. So lots of great history, even though we spent a couple of decades when we didn't have any contact.
That's true. What, about 30 years now?
Yeah.
Almost 30 years.
But then and some of the stuff I don't remember. I don't remember being at your church in Nashville.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah?
You came and you did a seminar. I was surprised. I didn't know. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. You called me and there I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do tend to show up when people call me. I tend to say yes until the no just makes it impossible to do. So so anyway, it has been great to reconnect.
Absolutely.
and thank you for expediting this and suggesting this.
Sure.
And this has been great and is going to bear fruit for a lot of years to come. And so you really went ahead and brought order out of chaos and made it happen, and I am the beneficiary of it, as are a lot of other people. Yeah. So thank you. Now, in one of our previous episodes, you had made the comment there was something. I talked about the man who went and sang someplace, got a standing ovation, came home, nobody pays attention to him. We talked about that's probably an indication of where he needs to be doing more work, that the universe, that God was kind of, hello, these people are ready for you. These are your constituents. You had some other thoughts on that, and I want to give you a chance to go ahead and expound and expand on that if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, sure. Well, it's an indication that wherever you're celebrated and appreciated is probably the space you want to be. But for a lot of us, the human side of us, we want to be validated at home.
Sure.
We want our peers to love us, appreciate us, celebrate us. But a lot of times that may not be where you're called. Yeah. And that can be disappointing when you don't get that type of validation at home. Yeah. And, that's something to just be cognizant of, that you may not get those standing ovations at home.
A prophet is not without honor except in their own home. We haven't talked a lot about Jesus, but obviously we are people of faith. Yeah. But when people get to know you a certain way, and then you kind of step into a new role, they don't get it.
It's unfamiliar.
It's strange,
yeah.
So I was in a church in Mobile, and I was the administrator. So I went to Louisiana. I was invited by a friend to speak. I didn't speak at the church in Mobile. I was the administrator, but I went to Louisiana and went several times. Well, one of the pastors in Mobile who knew the man in Louisiana, they were talking, and he said, John Stanko's coming. And the pastor in Mobile said, why? Are you having an administrative problem?
Yeah.
And the pastor in Louisiana said, oh, John can speak. He's a very gifted speaker. But the man in Mobile who knew me, who heard that, didn't say, oh, well, we'll have to make room for him to speak here. Yeah. It just went, oh, he knew me as an administrator.
Right.
They knew Jesus as the brother of the brothers and sisters that are named in Matthew. So when he started to teach and do all the stuff, what's this?
Who is this person?
Who this is Mary's boy. This is the carpenter.
Yes.
But he went to other cities. He went up north to Galilee. He became a rock star.
Right.
So he went where he was celebrated.
Exactly.
And I think your point that sometimes we overstay our welcome, because we want it. We kind of who moved my cheese?
Yes,
and
exactly.
the cheese moves, but we are sitting
Still
here.
there.
We want the cheese to come back,
Right here. Yep.
and it doesn't come back. And so, but in the parable, the mice that moved out earlier, they went and found new cheese. They had some inconvenience. They had some pain. They had some transition.
Yeah.
But they went and found their new cheese, and eventually the ones who stayed behind had to move on anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's the
real
dynamic
life.
that you were.
Absolutely, it is.
Have you ever stayed at a job too long?
Yeah.
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 I think we all have.
Yeah. But that's part of the process.
It's part of the process.
And that can be part of the pain.
Part of the pain, because the situation sometimes has to be blown up.
Exactly.
And I like to say took part of my hand with it, because I
Hold
was
on a little too
hold
long.
on a little too long. And that is, as you made the segue into the theme for this particular session, is purpose can bring pain. And you raised the question even before we went on. What, am I clear? What are we talking? When I say that, what do you think of with
Pain?
that? Yeah.
Well, just like that. Sometimes you can overstay your welcome, in a sense. And some of the things you may experience, discomfort. Maybe the people you work with, they may not dialogue with you as much. You start to feel like, well, why do I feel like the enemy, the strange person in a strange land? And it could be that it may be time to move on. You're done here. It's time to go to the next
But my benefits are here.
I know.
But my money's here. My seniority is here.
Security, the safety, and you're looking at, but I don't know what to do when I leave here. Do I just step out? What do I do? I don't have all the answers. That's when faith, steps in. And one thing that I have discovered, sometimes your next move might be dependent upon others' actions, which is why it's so important that people be about their business and doing what they're supposed to do, because they could be holding up what you're supposed to be going into next.
Yeah.
An example, I had a situation where a person I ran into, we had great conversation, we were talking about, collaborating, doing some work, and then, quote, they ghosted me. And I didn't hear from them for months and months and months. And I'm like, so what happened? Well, I'm in that neutral zone waiting for this project. Then we reconnect, and they're like, you know what? I was supposed to have gotten with you 6 months ago. I'm like, duh. Yeah, how about that? Why didn't you? I didn't ask them why didn't, but that was their procrastination, because they just didn't follow through. Distracted, busy. Now, of course, I was sustained through that, because you don't just hinge it to one person. But that was a teachable moment to say, sometimes somebody's depending upon you. So move when you're supposed to move, because that could be slowing up the process for someone else.
Yeah, but you don't know who they are or what the circumstance. So again, we're back to the faith aspect, where you're following your joy, following your heart. I've said boredom is God's way of telling you it's time to move on, and not the time to redouble your efforts. And but it's hard, because you don't know where all that's going to fall out. But sometimes you don't even do it willingly. Sometimes it's thrust on you.
That's true.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking of Steve Jobs, who starts Apple, and then he gets ousted from Apple and goes over to Pixar. But I mean, he has to distance himself from the very company that he started. The pain, the misunderstanding, yet it prepares him to come back to Apple. Probably made him a nicer person, a little more tolerant. From what I've read, he was could be a little rough around the edges in the early days, and then goes on to change the world. Dies what I would consider young, prematurely, but there was pain involved there too. And suffering does impart something to us that the good times never do, never will. You find that to be true?
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, for us, with a biblical worldview, I mean, suffering sensitizes us to the needs of other people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sick, and I've never really been sensitive or that mindful of other people who are. Now I know what it feels like. Our values can be structured. I'm poor, therefore I'm going to be generous. I'm going to make certain decisions based on
Your
what
experience.
I went through.
Yeah.
So there's the pain of an imperfect world.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, the old die, the young can die. There's pandemics. There's politics change. People change. Things change, and it brings pain. It keeps us in touch with the reality of life itself. I know. When I started my first company in 2001, it was out of a tremendous painful situation. I had been with a certain church situation for almost 30 years, and it ended. It was one of those things I was holding on to. It blew up, took fingers with it. I've never taught about it. I've never written about it because it was too private, and I knew there's two sides to every story, so I'd tell my story, and somebody come along and say, well, let's tell you about Stanko in that day. But it shaped me. And I should have gone and gotten a job back then, Stacy. I should have. We were in debt. We had no money. Our daughter was a sophomore in university. But all I could think about, I had 3 books, maybe 4. I had the purpose message. I had a mound of debt. But all I could think about was doing this. And so in 2001, that same year, I start writing the Monday Memo. I kept writing. I started to go to Africa, but it was painful. It was the financial. I mean, I have a master's in economics. To face the fact that I was a lousy money manager, that was painful.
Yeah.
It was painful to have to break away from the situation that I was in.
Yeah.
I had to search, as you've been a very strong proponent on these podcasts, of being aware of analyzing yourself. I like to call it an out of body, where you step away and look at yourself.
Yeah.
You look at yourself thinking and acting. And I had to say, why was I so susceptible to that? What was it in me? What did I contribute to that process? Very painful. I mean, I'm living in Africa. It's before the digital age. We had modems. We couldn't always get on. Nights on a plane. My family doesn't even know where I am, where I'm going, or where I am. But all that has helped make me whatever I am today, for good or not so good. So when I say purpose brings pain, that's a part of it too.
Example. Yeah.
So, and I know you've had those things. You've had to have some similar experiences,
Sure.
betrayals, promises.
Yeah.
I'll be here. You get there.
No.
Nobody there. They took all the stuff you use. I mean, it's.
That's part of the process. Everyone goes through that in some way, some form or fashion.
Yeah. And the
but-
closer the people are, the more it hurts.
Absolutely. You know, if it's not a loved one or someone you're in great fellowship with, you're not going to feel it as so intense. But that process don't let that break you. You know, learn from it.
Let it make you.
Yeah, let it make you. Learn from an experience. Sometimes you learn, all right, maybe the next time I won't do this, or I'll make sure this and this is in place. It does not preclude you from ever experiencing the pain, but maybe minimizing it somewhat.
Yeah. As our technician said, let your pain be your campaign.
I
never
love
heard
that.
that. Yeah, that was
Thanks,
pretty
Dustin.
good.
That was profound.
That was great.
It
No
is.
royalties will be paid. You know? you're getting the same as we get. So, but then there's also the pain of just making progress, of developing yourself. I want to go back. Talk to us about you going back to school.
Oh, wow.
Why was it the right time? Why was it the wrong time for you to do that?
Well, that was after I had transitioned into higher ed, and of course, loving it. the students were giving me energy.
Mm-hmm.
It was taking all those 20-something years and, able to still have access to that and use it, and understanding that the students appreciated it. It was just life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
That's that side. Then I had to deal with the political side of academia.
Mm-hmm.
Totally foreign to me. So it's like, but how do I understand this?
Mm-hmm.
How do I understand being evaluated from a very critical standpoint? Not understanding. To me, it felt like being hazed.
Mm-hmm.
I was being hazed by academia.
Right.
Going
They
up for
terrorize
tenure.
you. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I wasn't prepared for that process.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is going to break me. So what can I do to prepare myself to better understand this and give myself a better advantage? And the answer was, you've got to get a PhD in this.
Mm.
So that was my challenge. So out of that pain of being reviewed and maybe not so positively, birthed this desire to, all right, how do I overcome this? That's how I decided it's time to go back to school.
Yeah.
And there was pain in working full-time, teaching, working full-time, and then also going through the process of tenure, research, service, all of that had to be a part of it. And then going to school full-time in a PhD project, with traveling out of state every month for classes. And still, doing grading and all of that. That went on for over 2 years, almost 3 years. Very painful, financially painful. I sold my house because I said I can't pay a mortgage and pay tuition. So the sacrifice was sell the house, your dream house, rent for these next 3 years, and get this PhD so then it can take you to the next level. That was painful, but it was rewarding on the end. So there are sacrifices in this, very much so.
So 3 years.
3 years of just that process.
And so 2 years of academic work and then a year for the dissertation.
Yes.
I read a statistic, 70% of people who finish their academic work don't finish their dissertation.
And I know a lot of people who don't, and I almost didn't. I stepped away because I had
part
conflict,
of the pain.
Part of the pain. I had conflict with my dissertation chair.
They terrorize you. They keep sending it back. It's unreasonable. It's not. There aren't enough citations, not enough research. They're
horrifying.
Can you
he wanted
make
to
it
break me? And if I had been in a different place in my life, it's like, dude, I'm going to call some of my friends from New York to come down here and take care of you.
Right. Yeah. Well, what's your car license again?
Yeah. But I had to literally suck it up and say, is this going to break you or you're going to complete? What are you going to do? So, and I got to the place of saying a done dissertation is a complete dissertation.
Yeah.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
And so that's my motto. Just get it done.
Yeah, for me, I applaud you. I mean, I was in a doctor of ministry program. It wasn't as exacting. And I went back to when I was 57. I told you my 50s were my greatest growth years.
Yeah.
And I had completed a DMin, but the entity never finished their accreditation. And I just felt I was exposed. So I had gone through 8 years.
Oh, gosh.
But I went back and at 57, and they then had a hiccup in their accreditation, so it took me 4 years when it should have only taken 3. So I graduated when I was 61.
Wow.
And but I'm so glad I did. And while I could say it was painful, I was exposed to so much good material, and it gave me a chance in some of the things I was working on to do a little deeper research. I was able to combine some things. But one of the things I tell people is you will work. Purpose is not, it's not the gravy train. It's not okay. I now have my own company and the residuals. I hope that happens for you.
Sure,
but it's painful work. And now you're raising a family. You're making you're making transition.
Yeah.
Doing new things.
Yeah.
And for me, there's also the pain. Like when I go to Africa, there's just a lot of pain there.
Yeah.
I tell people who want to work in Africa, I said, you haven't really worked there till you've had your heart broken, till you've invested in an orphan who gets to 16 and 17, has no family. an evil force sweeps them away. You know, they're trafficked, or a distant relative shows up and thinks there's money, and it just and it ends not very well. So we do live in an imperfect world, and while we're trying to create order out of chaos, sometimes the chaos can be overwhelming, and we have to accept our own limitations. And that's painful.
It is.
It's and things don't work out the way, you know, that we had hoped that you know that they would. Also, you know, I go. People say, "How do you write your books?" I say, one page at a time, one day at a time. They're not part of the heavenly Jerusalem. They don't float down from on high. God doesn't dictate them. I stayed up late last night, had to edit a manuscript because we're on a deadline for a book launch, and so you go without sleep. I'd rather watch the Knicks play the Nets or whoever they were playing last night, but I had that to do. So there's a Greek word, and I mentioned it to you earlier, that is used in the scriptures. It's kopos. It's Kopos. And it's a unique word that means intense labor, that's usually united with toil and trouble. And we see it in Jesus' ministry. We saw it in Paul's ministry, kopos. And so when you know your purpose, it's bigger than you are.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it can, for many people, they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I mean, if your purpose is children, suddenly there are 2 billion citizens in the world that fit the description for your purpose audience, and a lot of them are suffering.
Yeah.
So now, what do I do with that? I wish I could do more. I wish I had more.
Yeah.
So it's joyful.
Yeah.
Purpose. It's wonderful. It's exhilarating. It is energizing. We wouldn't trade it for anything. But there is the human aspect of it too. That there is pain.
There's pain. There's exhaustion. Sometimes there's a confusion.
Misunderstanding.
All of that.
Yeah.
That's just part of the process. Yeah.
And so our society and culture is very convenience oriented, and we use all the technology, so we want to make our work easier. And I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and find a cause and just suffer for suffering's sake. But when you get on the road of purpose, but the joy keeps you going.
Absolutely.
It's the fuel that keeps you pressing through. And so the failure comes, or the book doesn't sell, but then you get this other creative idea and you start to work on it. And then you get a call from somebody you knew 30 years ago, and you realize that there's been more going on than you realize there is. Yeah. So what any other trainings for you? Any other education or things you'd like to do?
Yeah, maybe. But right now, I think I'm focusing on the world schooling.
Yeah.
I've got to make sure this 4 and 2-year-old, 3-year-old are taken care of. There may be some things that I'll consider.
Are you much of a reader? Do you have time to read? Do you listen?
I'm more of a listener. So audiobooks work very well.
I do audiobooks a lot because
you can
when I'm in the car.
multitask.
And then with publishing, I'm reading all the time. I don't have much time for reading by choice. I have a lot of things that I'm reading. One of my friends gives me a commentary by St. Thomas Aquinas on the book of Job.
Wow.
It's in Latin and English.
Oh, wow.
And it's about this thick, and it's 8.5 by 11. And so I am reading a page or two of that every day, just because it's better than I thought it was going to be. Anytime I've gotten into Aquinas, he is he kind of confuses me. But I think we're touching on something here, Stacy, that's just why the joy is all the more important. Because when the pain, when the difficulties come, there's only one thing that's going to help you press through it, and that's the joy. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you got to have that thing that's going to drive you. What keeps driving you through all of that. what's pulling and pushing you.
Yeah.
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 Or else you'd stop, you give up, you throw your hands and say, I surrender. I'm not doing this anymore for all the reasons, probably the right reasons of why you can justify not, moving.
Yeah.
But I know something that really helped me was a dear friend. We were sharing office space, and I was hitting one of those moments, like that dry moment. And she said, have you ever watched the animation Meet the Robinsons? And I was like, no. I'm a 40-year-old something woman. Why would I watch that?
Yeah.
But I watched it, and there were so many wonderful life lessons that now I have used that reference to watch Meet the Robinsons. It is so great because all the time, all the failures, they celebrated every failure. It was so funny to me how opposite we do in our real lives.
Yeah.
How we sink into a depression or, have the anxiety and all the different feelings of low self-esteem,
Depression,
from failures, all
yeah.
of it. Where when the characters failed, it was a big celebration and how they flipped it. And it's just, the whole theme of it is keep moving forward. And eventually, they were met with success. But they celebrated every failure because it got them closer to the success.
Yeah.
So when I hit those moments, then it's like, keep moving forward.
Yeah. Well, keep moving forward, but again, the title of our podcast is Pivot on Purpose. We haven't talked about pivoting, for a few episodes, and it would just be good to go back. Why did we choose that title? Why is that, especially for you, why is pivot such a vital word, such a critical word that I don't spend much time with you before we either say pivot, or we'll be talking about something and we say pivot.
Yes,
So again, just to refresh our memory, why is this so vital? Why is this so important?
It's just been so relative in my life, how from one position, one situation, it's not a total departure from what I was doing, but it's a pivot.
Yeah.
And as I use, sometimes it could be a 45-degree angle, 90, 180, sometimes a 360, but there's always been a pivot in getting to the place that I needed to continue to get based on my purpose. So I would consider a pivot from going from the music and entertainment industry, working in corporate. A pivot was going into higher education.
Right, sure.
Still teaching music
Connected,
and all connected, interconnected. But the pivot was, now I'm in higher ed. Now I've had to do another pivot, kind of pivoting out of not so much higher ed completely, but out of the classroom and maybe out of the deanship and into another area of higher education. So everything is about pivoting in that. Even in my personal life, pivoting out of singleness into getting married late in life. I didn't get married until I was 52. First time marriage. And some people think, oh, well, I wasn't married at 30, so I'm never getting married.
Right.
Oh, I was living I know. It's like, no, I was living my best life. I was cool with it. And then got married. And then the next pivot was, oh, I'm going to have a baby in my 50s.
Yeah.
Massive pivot.
Pain.
Pain too, right? But so
found
much
a new
joy.
definition.
Yeah, so much joy because it was my heart's desire. And then just to make sure that it wasn't a one-off, I did it again, another pivot. And so you'll have those. It's not sometimes a total, like I say, a departure from what you're doing. It's just an added-on bonus.
Yeah.
Added on feature.
Yeah, and I thought it interesting, you said getting out of higher education, but not really. So we've been working down in Columbia on a purpose leader. There's servant leadership. I'm talking about purpose leadership. And we're starting an online academy. And I'm taking the 5 gold mine principles of purpose, creativity, goal setting, time management, and faith. And we're doing 8-week or 8-session curriculum in both English and Spanish. So my higher education expression ended 5 or 6 years ago, but my teaching, my creating order out of chaos, the creativity, the purpose of going into people's minds and helping. Okay, I have this shred of evidence, this piece. What does it all mean? I challenge you to find any purpose in all this.
Okay.
You did. Wow, there it is. So I'm continuing it. I'm pivoting.
You're pivoting, yes.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I was doing it.
Yeah.
But your emphasis is really pivot on purpose.
On purpose.
Not just I'm sick of this place and I'm going to go sell cotton candy in a circus for 5 years.
Yeah.
It has meaning.
It does.
It's
a continuation.
It may be a big stretch, but there's still seeds. There's still threads connected to the purpose, and that lets you know you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Because you're doing what you love, you're doing what gives you joy.
Yeah.
It's new, but again, as we get older, we have more chances. Oh, I've seen this, I connect it to that, and therefore, I'm on the right track.
That's it.
So the pain doesn't go away, but the joy, the love, the peace keeps us going.
It
Does
does.
this make sense?
Makes total sense.
Is it making sense
me.
to you? It's certainly making sense to us. So,
Yeah.
well, Stacy, that's a good work on this episode. Thank you for all your contributions.
Sure.
Can we do it one more time?
I think we have some more in it.
I think we've got more in the
think so.
tank, but it's going to be a lot different than pain. It's going to be the antithesis.
Absolutely.
It's going to be
Let's
the
get to
other
it.
side of the coin. So join us for the rest of the story, as one radio broadcaster used to say. But this is John Stanko and Dr. Meredith signing off for episode 7. Come on back and join us one more time. See you soon.